Hello? Yeah. Yeah. No, I haven't even read it yet. Yo, I haven't looked at it in 5 years. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I don't know. I know I said I would. I'll do it tonight probably, or like over the next couple of days. I don't know. I can't promise you that. This is the story of somebody who is preparing to do a play, a solo play, which means you get on stage all by yourself, no other actors. You have all the words. Every single word in the script is your responsibility. 2.5 hours long, well over 250 pages. This is the story of a performing artist who prepared for probably 2.5 years after doing this for well over a decade. So this was a performance that had been built up from many years of struggle and development, ups and downs, disappointments, wins, accomplishments, a lot of celebration, a lot of tears, a lot of injuries, a lot of healing, a lot of friends, a lot of enemies, just a lot of stuff. I mean, honestly, you know what? I'm not sure I even want to do that. It was hard for me, to get it shut down like that. I mean, you know what I do. I don't even know. I don't even know if I can get it up like that again. I'm not sure. And so this is the story of the biggest moment of this person's life. The moment where they were playing at the most important venue they had ever played at, arguably, at least. Performing the best script they had ever written, arguably. And uber confident in what the outcome was going to be. Like, this play was taking this person to Broadway. There was no question in this person's mind. And that's kind of like the attitude you have to take, right? I mean, it's like being a baseball player or a basketball player. Like, if you get to the level of playing in college, especially if you're like D1, you think you're going to the NFL, or you think you're going to the NBA, or you think you're going to be a Major League basketball player, a Major League baseball player, or you're going to the WNBA, or whoever you are. You have to think that way. If you're the best 400-meter runner in your conference, you're thinking you can get to the Olympics. You're thinking you might be the fastest runner in the world. You're thinking you can run with Cindy McLaughlin. Google her. Yeah. I mean, what if I like put all this time in and then like it gets shut down again? Yeah, I know that's always a possibility, but what if that happens? Like, why am I even doing this again? What if I do it and then nothing happens? What if nobody comes? That's how confident you have to be. This person was working with great collaborators, people he trusted for the first time in a long time. He took control of this, every aspect of this show, he was in control of. There were no excuses, and there was nobody else to blame. It was all on him. And he took all the knowledge that he had gained over almost a decade and a half of doing this work every day, sacrificing so much in his life, giving up so much, but, willfully and happily. He was in love with the process. He was in love with this particular story. He was in love with all of his stories, but this was special because this was connected to his real life. Because this, as much as he had worked on based on a true story kind of stories before this was straight up true, even though it's interesting because it was not a documentary style piece, even though I'm talking about theater, but it wasn't even really like memoir, even though it was. Yeah, I am. I'm nervous about it. I'm not playing with you. Like, I'm serious. I don't know if I want to put everything on the line again like that. I'm not sure I'm willing to do that. I mean, if you ever saw John Leguizamo's Ghetto Clown, which I don't know how many people watching this had seen that, but Ghetto Clown was all memoir. It was about his family, his father, his mother, his life, his grandmother, but it felt like so much more. And that's because, and here's some of the knowledge that this person had acquired over the years that I'm talking about, John Leguizamo, in his play, created something that was absolutely universal to everybody. Like if you saw him on Broadway, or if you could see it on, I think, HBO, maybe Netflix now, Amazon, I don't know. Check out Ghetto Clown, and I would highly recommend it. You'll feel like he was talking about your family at times, I guarantee it. I mean, it was so relatable, and because the only good story is a universal story. And so this performing artist that I'm talking about, he had something like that. He had something that was completely universal, even though it was so specific to his life. Information that he had just received, that he had been searching for his entire life. Yo, I put my whole life aside for this. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm already completely isolated. Like I don't know if I want to, in this world. Yeah, it's not even about that. Like I don't, who knows if the theater might not even be there at that point. It's not going to be like 2 months. All right, I'll read it, I promise. I'll read it. He finally really learned about his biological mother, his birth mother, the person whose body he came out of, like for real. This was like real information, like the real shit. And so it was all built up and it got canceled. And it got canceled for a good reason. It was COVID. It was June 12th, 2020. And even though this person knew for a few months that it was going to be canceled, because he probably knew around January or February, like there's no way this is going to happen. The whole world is turned upside down. They're going to have to cancel it, but they didn't cancel it until maybe 2 weeks before the date, which is kind of cruel when you think about it, but that's the way it went. And this person was devastated. Like more than he thought he would be, like broken. Like he didn't feel that way leading up to it, but when it was officially canceled, he went into the deepest, darkest depression. I'm talking like scary, dangerous, deadly depression. Something he had never really experienced before. Yo, because I don't know. Yo, I haven't looked at it for 5 years. What if it's not even good? And so, without getting too deep into that whole aspect of it, he made a movie based on that story. He wrote a screenplay based on the theatrical script, but very different as it turns out. he left out so much stuff from the theatrical script. And he made this movie, and it basically saved his life. It like got him through a difficult time. And he was left with the notion that this script, this piece of work, the best work that he had ever created, arguably, at least in his mind, was never to be performed, never to be seen by anybody. The greatest play ever written in his life, never to be seen by anyone. And this person's whole life was about sharing his work. Like, the work doesn't mean anything to this guy unless he gets to share it with people. He doesn't write for himself. It doesn't do anything for him. It's not that kind of process. It's kind of like there was a great writer named Dorothy Parker who said she hated writing, but she loved having written. This guy was kind of like that. Although he didn't hate writing, but it didn't mean anything to him unless he got to get in front of an audience and share it. And making a movie fulfilled, filled up that hole. When he got to share it, when he won a bunch of festivals with that film, when he got to screen it in person on a big screen in front of about 200 people, it was amazing. But he still never got to perform that play. What if I do it and it's not good? Yeah, I know you think that. What if I'm not as good as I was? I don't know. I mean, I know it's crazy, but I'm just telling you how, how I feel. And so there's a movie being made right now. And the movie is about somebody just like this. Somebody who endured this kind of disappointment, this kind of pain, this kind of depression. 5 years later, reading that script again for the first time, something he kind of vowed never to do again, but he did. He went back and he read it after not looking at it for 5 years. And he looked at it and he thought, you know what? This is the best script I've ever written. I got to do something with this. Like, I have to. I can't just let it sit here and do nothing. And so this person was working on a film. And he was working on a film that had absolutely nothing to do with this script. It was like a whole different story. But after reading that script, he was like, I can take this story and I can incorporate that moment of my life into this moment. And so he struggled with that, and he thought about it, and he was like, I don't really know how I'm going to do this, but then it finally came to him, and this is the epiphany. This is the catharsis in the story. That he's going to write a story about somebody who had to find the resilience and the bravery to be willing to risk preparing once again to do that play. Even though he knows, especially in an uncertain world right now, that it could be canceled again. I mean, I'm not trying to go out there and embarrass myself. It's 2.5 hours, man. I haven't done it in a long time. I don't know. Yeah, okay. Look, I promise I'll look at it. I'll look at it. Yeah. I can't promise you that. And here's the thing. He's a solo theater artist, and people think once you memorize a play, it's in your head forever. You'll never forget it. Now you're walking around with 3 plays, 4 plays, 10 plays in your head, and it doesn't work that way. When you work on a play, once you get to the next project, you got to let those words go. You got to let them spill out of your ears and fall all over the floor and say goodbye to them and mourn them and cry and you got to let it go and make space for the new work. You got to be completely present. You got to be completely open. It's like moving on to a new relationship. You know, you can't carry old people with you to get into a new relationship. You just can't do it. Never works. Arguably. And so that's what this film is about. It's about being willing to take that risk again and being brave enough to start from scratch once again, take the 6 months, 8 months, 12 months to relearn 2.5 hours of words to get on stage maybe just one time, because he has an opportunity to do that. And so it's kind of dangerous because it's 5 years later. That's 2.5 years probably of preparation, and like we're talking about 7 years perhaps. I mean, we're talking about like a long period of time. Big risk. At what cost? And for what gain? You know, to what end? What's the point? What if I do it and like nothing happens? You know, like, well, I know it's just to do it, you know. No, I'm not. You know me. I don't expect anything in return, but why shouldn't I expect something in return? And so here's what I think the point is. I think the point is what was most special to me about that project was the process, which is the same thing with all my projects. It's the process, it's the learning, it's the day-to-day, it's the, you know, you start memorizing, you look at this script and it's like 240 pages or something like that, and you think, how is this even possible? Like, how am I going to ever memorize all these words, you know? But you do it every day, every day. You memorize 2 pages at a time, and then maybe 5 pages, and you spend all day, you give yourself like 5, 6, 8 hours every day. And then you read those pages every day, and then you go 5 more pages, and you just keep doing the same thing. 5 pages, and then get 5 more pages. 5 pages, 5 more pages. So now you're reading 15 pages, and you're learning 2 more pages, 5 more pages, whatever you can handle. And there are days when you forget stuff, and you're like, oh my God, I don't have it, you know, but you just keep doing it. You just, you know, you stay with it every single day. You never negotiate with yourself. You do it every day. And it's just overwhelming. And 2 months go by, and 4 months go by, and you don't have it. 6 months go by, and you still don't have it. And then all of a sudden, something happens. I can't even describe what it is, but something happens, and all of a sudden, you got it. Like you have every single word. The whole story is in your body. You don't have to look at the page anymore. You got it. And then you go to different locations to practice, because, you know, if you learn it in one place, you know, your neurology knows that, and it kind of, you know, holds on to certain things like, you know, those heads behind me or pictures in the room or something like that. You got to go outside. You got to be around traffic. You got to be around people. You got to be in different environments. And then you really start to lock in those words. Because you'll notice once you go out for the first time, you forget everything. But you're not really forgetting it. It's like in your brain. But you got to get out, and you just keep working at it, you know. And so what I'm saying is it's all about the process. It's all about the day-to-day. You know, as trite and as corny as it sounds, it's all about the journey. Well, I never even worked with this person before. Like, you know, how do I even know what my relationship is going to be like with this guy? Like, no, I know he's the best, you know, whatever, but is he the best for me? I worked with him that one time. No, I don't want to do it that way. True. You know, listen, I'll call you back after I read it, all right? I will definitely read it. But, you know, like, it just feels kind of weird. Like I did this whole movie. It's the same story. Yeah, I know. I left out a lot, but honestly, I'm not even sure I want to go in there and you know, like revisit this. And so the reason I was willing to do it is because that's what my life is about. You know, my life is not about getting to the theater and sharing it with people and performing. My life is about the day-to-day. You know, the best part for me is getting to share it, but the part that keeps me alive, the part that I wake up for every morning, the part that is who I am is the everyday part, the part when nobody's looking, the part when nobody is telling me what to do and I got no pressure on me other than my own pressure. That's the part that matters. That tells me who I am. It tells me what I'm made of. It tells me what I'm about. You know, I'm about this life. I'm about this work. Like, why do I want to feel these feelings again? Yeah, you're talking to me. Maybe I'm different. And so I realized that I've been afraid to dive back in, and I think partially because this world has been so crazy since the pandemic, I kind of lost who I am. Like I was like, I didn't even know what day it was half the time. And I don't know what it is, but I find myself more focused, and maybe it's like because I went back to read that script and it grounded me or something, or it centered me, and it reminded me of who I am. Like I forgot. I've been just, you know, I moved during that time. I had so many things that were like uprooted in my life, and I don't know, reading that script kind of brought me back, and you know, I feel like I'm a much different person than I was back then too. Like I've grown a lot, I've been through a lot, I'm dealing with a lot of stuff. You know, there's so much going on in my life, and there's so much going on in the world. We live in an uncertain world. We live in a crazy, cruel world right now. It's just mean. You know, there's stuff going on right now that I don't understand because it's just mean. There's not even a reason for it. You know what I mean? It's just to be cruel, I feel like. I don't know what's going on. But I know that in order for me to survive through this, in order for me to get through whatever's going on in the world, good or bad, I need to be, you know, I need to remind myself who I am and what I'm about. And I need to be my most genuine self, no matter what. That's the only reason to be alive. And, you know, for a while I did question, you know, why be alive? Why am I here? That's what the original script was about. What is the meaning of life? Like, you know, everything's so disposable. Like things happen and then it's gone. You know, the most important day of your life, but then it's gone. It doesn't matter anymore. I don't know. It's just like, I guess in a way, you know, like I'm not sure. You know, if I have the same kind of ability that I had, you know, like, no, I know. I mean, it's ironic that an adopted person who felt disposable his whole life, you know, I mean, thank God my parents made me permanent, but when I was a baby, I was in 3 foster homes before I wound up with the people that adopted me. And you know, yeah, I used to think like, what, I wasn't cute enough, I wasn't good enough, I had no idea. It was just a feeling that I had. And then I got into the theater, and the theater is like the most disposable thing that you could choose to as a profession. You know, you do a play, you work your ass off, you perform it for, you know, 6 weeks, 6 months, whatever. You do 8 shows a week, you do it for 5 years, for 6 years, but then when you finish a show, it's done. And it's a play. It's not even documented, it's gone. And even if people loved it, even if it was a smash hit, even if it won Tony Awards on Broadway, nobody cares. Did you even ever hear of the play Fences? Tony Award-winning play. I mean, I'm sure people in the theater heard of it, hardcore people, but most people, there are plenty of people who probably saw Fences if you were visiting New York at that time, but you don't remember it. I had a play called Broke Wide Open. It was like a big thing for like 6 years. Ain't nobody thinking about that play except for me. And maybe occasionally people think about it, but it's a disposable art form. But what I realize is that life is disposable, everything. The day a child is born is disposable. The day you got married is disposable. The first time you ever had sex is disposable. Even if you had a kid, even if you got pregnant, when that kid grows up and goes out on its own, you're on your own again. It's your life. You know, like these things are just like they happen and then they keep, well, that's the thing about life. It's the most beautiful thing and it's the most brutal part of life, that it just keeps moving no matter what. Whether somebody dies, whether there's a grand celebration, somebody's just going to get a slice of pizza, somebody's just getting on a train, somebody's stuck in traffic, somebody's doing homework, somebody's doing nothing. Like, life just keeps moving. It doesn't care about anybody or anything. It was just that, you know, when it got shut down, I mean, I didn't tell you a lot of stuff that happened, you know. It's like, I just don't know. I don't know if I want to be back in that place, you know, like, no, you don't understand what I'm saying. And you know what? I didn't share some stuff with you, but I'm just feeling a little nervous. No, I don't want to get into it. All right, look. No, I don't want to get into it. I just gotta get myself together and just do it. Yeah. Okay. No, I didn't even want to say that. You know, like, I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, I know, I appreciate it, but I don't want to talk about it. I'm fine. I'm good. I'm good. And so you have to every single day figure out, why are you here? What the hell are you doing? Are you using your time wisely? Are you living your life to the fullest extent? Are you taking advantage of this time? Because it's going to end fast. And the older you get and the closer you are to the end than you are to the beginning, you start to think about stuff like that. And I'm so grateful that I read that script, because I only did it because somebody sent me a submission for a grant. And it was the only thing I could think of that would be appropriate for that grant. So I was like, okay, I'll go back and read it. And I read it, and I'm telling you, I was on the floor, wrecked. It killed me. And I was like, wow, I feel so much. I'm really grateful for that moment, and I'm very afraid right now. I'm, you know, like, there's a lot of trepidation in my body, but I'm moving forward, you know, I'm forging ahead to do this work, and I'm excited about it, but I'm also, you know, kind of uneasy and afraid of what's going to be. You know, am I going to be as good as I was before? You know, I always worry about stuff like that, but at the same time, I'm supremely confident because I know where I've been. I know who I am. I know what I can do. I know what I'm like. I guess the thing that is overwhelming is I also know the work that it takes to get there. And you have to be willing to do that work. And you have to be willing every day. You can't just say, I'm committing to this for the next 5 years. It doesn't work that way. You have to do it every single day. You have to commit to it every morning that you wake up. Because every day that you get up, there's a million opportunities to do other things. And so every day is another commitment. And you just have to do it. And if you do it, then you know what you're about, you know? And if you don't do it, then you know what you're about. And that's a scary thought. All right, listen, let me get out of here. I will look at it, you know, over the next couple of days. I'm not doing it tonight. I'll call you after I look at it. All right. Okay. Yeah, I promised. That's what this story is about. That's where I'm at. And I don't know if this is a good YouTube video, but I think it is because I think this is incredibly relatable, universal. It's not all about me, because I think everybody has this experience at one time or another, or every day. That's what I think.